Supporter of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN Report. Make sure y'all sign that petition, get Donald Trump off Twitter, find the change.org, link in the video description. If you're watching this on YouTube now, I've been keeping y'all up to date with what's been going on in northern Syria. Remember, all starting from when Trump had that conversation with Recep Tayyip Erdogan, the president of Turkey, and he ended up calling the U.S. troops to actually step aside, which allowed for Turkey to come in and do these air and ground offensives against the Kurds that are in Syria. Now, since then, Bashar al-Assad, his Syrian government, has actually, backed the Kurds, and they're like rushing across northern Syria right now to defend the border. Now, since then, Trump and the U.S. government in general, Mike Pence and people speaking for Trump, have actually said that, this is highly condemned. They're condemning what Turkey is doing and basically calling for them to issue a ceasefire, or there'll be consequences. Now, keep all of this in mind as I tell y'all that the U.S. State and Energy departments are actually saying that they're going to leave 50 tactical nuclear weapons in the Incirlik air base in Turkey. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be an offensive thing towards them, or if it sounds like it might end up just leaving them with some free nuclear weapons, but I don't know. But check this out though. The Committee to Protect Journalists is actually saying an airstrike on Sunday had actually killed a Kurdish journalist this past Sunday. The London-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights is actually saying that were 5 civilians killed in that same airstrike, and we're talking about 28 European Union countries have actually decided to ban arms sales to Turkey, which is the first. It's an unprecedented move to do against a fellow NATO or country. So a lot of shit bubbling. Green Wall and Graduation. Support of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN Report, this Black Fox News Report. So Fiona Hill, former top advisor for Russia for the U.S., she actually testified in front of the House Intelligence, Foreign Affairs, and the Oversight Committee, and she basically unveiled some things worth noting. I mean, she testified that former National Security Advisor John Bolton actually referred to Rudy Giuliani, Trump's personal lawyer and former mayor of New York City, or whatever, racist motherfucker, basically as a hand grenade that's going to blow everybody up. Also quoted him as saying, he's not going to be a part of whatever drug deal that Sondland and Mulvaney are cooking up. Referring to Gordon Sondland, who's actually the U.S. ambassador to the European Union, and Mick Mulvaney, the White House acting chief of staff, in their dealings with Ukraine, essentially. So Gordon Sondland has actually been on record as sending text messages to Bill Taylor, who's also a top advisor to Ukraine for the U.S., where Taylor actually texted them. So, like, are we saying that that the conditions of these leaders' meeting is based on these investigations? And Sondland's response was, "Call me." And I'm paraphrasing, but shit got real sneaky amongst them. Democrats accused the Trump administration of trying to, or Giuliani and the crew, of trying to open up a shadow government with Ukraine by removing the U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, Marie Yovanovitch, and also in trying to get the Ukrainians to open up an investigation against Joe Biden and his son Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden was actually on ABC the other day saying that his, it was poor judgment him having these foreign companies, but sound like maybe some cover-up shit to me. But it seemed like everybody real snaky and greasy and oily in this one. Green Wall and Graduation. Report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN Report. So in Westerville, Ohio, they will actually be, CNN and the New York Times will actually be hosting a Democratic presidential debate. There's going to be 12 presidential candidates up there. A lot of polls show Elizabeth Warren, the Massachusetts senator, actually leading the pack, being ahead of Joe Biden, actually. There are reports circulating that former mayor of New York City, Mike Bloomberg, may actually enter the race if Joe Biden withdraws, which, I don't really see. But we'll see what happens, though. Green Wall and Graduation is going to be tonight at 8 p.m. at Eastern Standard Time. So, make sure y'all check it out. Green Wall and Graduation. The New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN Report. So, Remember I told y'all about in Fort Worth, Texas, Tatiana Jefferson, a 28-year-old woman that was actually shot dead in her home after a neighbor had called the police for a wellness check after seeing that her front door was ajar. So this officer, actually white dude, goes in. It turns out his name is Aaron Dean. He goes in to, you know, check basically on almost on some SWAT shit, because you can see the body cam footage, and he ends up, like, you know, yelling through the window when he sees somebody moving, telling them to put their hands up, and then ends up shooting through the window. Like, what kind of fuck shit is that? So Aaron Dean has officially been has been arrested and charged with murder. So hopefully he gets maximum punishment, because not only is this poor police practice, but it's just like, these are common sense mistakes. Like, what the fuck was Holmes thinking about, y'all? Green Wall and Graduation. The New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. So David Briones, a federal district court judge, has actually ruled that Donald Trump broke the law when he declared the national emergency to basically secure billions of dollars of border wall funding from the Pentagon and from other departments or whatever, but specifically from the Pentagon. It was in violation of a budget law that was already approved by Congress. So technically he broke the law. But mind you, this shit is already underway with Pentagon money, and with money coming from the Justice Department as well, and from the Treasury Department. So, you know, don't think this is going to stop this white supremacy train that has already been set in motion. But now it's on the books that he's breaking the law. We'll see what this turns into. Green Wall and Graduation. Streets report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. So there's actually a video that's going viral of a bulldozer going over some reserved cacti in Arizona, specifically at the Organ Pipe Cactus National Monument, which is an international biosphere reserve. They basically were going over these cacti, trying to make way for Trump's stupid ass border wall. Now, keep in mind that Trump administration, they've actually waived 41 different environmental rules in order to make way for this border wall. And if you remember what I reported in previous times, Trump already gave the okay, or told like White House workers or whatever and aides to pretty much like ignore those rules and, you know, do whatever you have to do to build the wall up. And he'll even use his like presidential privileges, or even try to basically to get people out of trouble. So, you know what I mean? If that even turns into pardons or whatnot, like, he would do that. So that lets you know what type of game they playing. They build this wall that apparently has been scalable, because there was a prototype actually put up at this wall climbing national park in Kentucky, and an 8-year-old girl climbed it. So, you know what I mean? We'll see what happens though. Green Wall and Grad. The New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. I know it's getting a little dark out here, but you can still see me though, and you can most importantly still hear what I'm saying. So I told y'all yesterday about how Spain's Supreme Court essentially ruled that these 9 Catalan independence leaders were would be sentenced, and they all were sentenced to like 9 to 13 years in prison. Well, people were not happy with that shit, so you had thousands of people actually protesting at Barcelona airport, shutting down flights and all of that, and roadways and all of that shit. Yo, 100 flights were canceled in Barcelona. So if you out there trying to fly to Spain, or try to fly to Spain's capital and all of that, you might want to consider another route. Green Wall and Graduation. The New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. So over in Mexico, you actually had in the southwestern state of Michoacan, you actually had 14 police officers that were killed in an ambush. Now, the ambush is being blamed on the new generation Jalisco, or Jalisco as the Mexicans would say it, the Jalisco cartel, which has apparently been battling for control over meth, avocados, and lime. You know what I'm saying? So think about that next time you eat some lime, avocado, or smoke some meth. Green Wall and Graduation. Streets report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. So the Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act is apparently something that's on the bill, and possibly could be looked at as early as this week by the House of Representatives in the U.S. Well, tens of thousands of people in Hong Kong that actually hit the streets protesting, trying to get the attention of U.S. lawmakers so that they can actually pass this legislation. And there were even protests that took place during the weekend that actually led to like 200 arrests. This legislation would basically allow for the U.S. to levy subsidies, or I'm not subsidies, pardon me, sanctions against any powers that seem to be suppressing the basic freedoms of people in Hong Kong. So we'll see if this turns into anything. Green Wall and graduation. Streets report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. Now, I told y'all Extinction Rebellion is getting it jumping. This is a climate activist group that is based out of London, but they've been hitting all over the world, even in New York City. Now, the city of London has actually banned all protests by them, and tried to dismember or break up their encampment that was at Trafalgar Square. But this is after the past 8 days, there's been 1,400 people, members of Extinction Rebellion, that have actually been arrested, all protesting for climate change and wanting something to be done about this shit. But now keep this in mind that they're actually out there. Even yesterday, they were out there, stop blocking traffic. People gluing themselves to the Bank of England and BAE Systems building, and even to the BlackRock company building. Gail Bradbrook, the co-founder of Extinction Rebellion, was actually out there, trying to smash one of the windows of the Department of Transport, while other protesters were actually gluing themselves to the building. So it's like they really getting it popping. Despite the ban, they still out there protesting. So we'll see what this turns into. Green Wall and graduation. Streets report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. So even though he said he wouldn't, said he would keep the fuel prices as they were, Ecuadorian President Lenin Moreno actually signed a new decree that basically restores the fuel subsidies that were in place prior to him trying to basically take that $4.2 billion loan from the International Monetary Fund under the austerity conditions that the subsidies would be removed. Keep in mind, those subsidies actually raised the fuel prices by 120%. So that's why people were in an outraged, massive protest, like crazy protest. I think people died from this shit, you know what I'm saying? So people dying for their freedoms and their rights. But they basically were able to overturn that shit. So, was it worth it? I guess it'd be more up to them people to really determine whether they felt like that was worth it or not. Unfortunately, it seems like something that shouldn't have happened in the first place. But check this out, though. Now, there's a commission that's being set up, including indigenous peoples or whatever, that are going to basically sit with politicians and economists or whatever and come up with ways to decrease Ecuador's deficit. Green Wall graduate. Streets report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. So General Motors still has their workers on strike. You're talking about tens of thousands of people across the country on strike with the United Auto Workers Union, and they're demanding higher pay, healthcare benefits, more job security, and demanding that more cars and parts be built in the United States of America. So they are entering their 5th week of protests. It's the longest strike by the UAWs in the last 50 years. Green Wall and graduation.